Shawn Kemp, $90 million in career earnings. Shawn Kemp, a former NBA player who earned $90 million throughout his career, is an example of who not to be when you are a millionaire. His loss of wealth is largely attributed to poor personal decisions. After a lucrative NBA career, Kemp has only $5 million in assets to his name in 2023. He is legally obligated to provide financial support to 6 separate families, having fathered at least 6 children. Additionally, he had to pay a significant amount of money in legal fees after being charged with illegal possession of drugs. The next example is even more shocking. Vin Baker's NBA fortune was squandered due to a series of post-retirement mistakes that left him with virtually nothing. Substance abuse had a significant impact on Baker's later life, and he also made some unwise financial investments that resulted in the loss of a substantial amount of money. Financial estimates put Baker's losses at over $100 million before his home was foreclosed on by the bank. You won't believe that by 2014, Baker's situation had become so dire that he was working as a barista at Starbucks to make ends meet. However, he used this experience as a stepping stone to get his life back on track. Today, he works as an analyst for the NBA and has founded the Vin Baker Foundation, which hosts an annual 5K run to raise money for anti-addiction causes. The next story is unbelievably shocking. Latrell Sprewell. Modern athletes are now routinely offered assistance with financial management in the form of advice, guides, or accountants. Latrell Sprewell is a sad example of an NBA player who was not given any such assistance and made all of his financial decisions himself. Despite a brilliant 13-year career in professional basketball, he ended up losing his entire fortune. In 2004, Sprewell rejected a $21 million contract from the Minnesota Timberwolves. By 2005, he was forced to sell his assets. He had not paid his taxes correctly and owed the state of Wisconsin an exorbitant amount in back taxes, estimated to be upwards of $3.5 million. Sprewell was then sued by his ex-wife for $200 million. His yacht was repossessed and his home went into foreclosure. Antoine Walker. Antoine Walker, an NBA champion and one of the stars of the sport, was as excessive off the court as he was impressive on it. He amassed a large collection of sports cars, homes, and jewelry. Walker was also addicted to gambling and was forced to pay nearly $1 million to several casinos to settle his debts. Walker's story is particularly sad because his money did not even go to support any children or a college fund, it was all squandered on pointless purchases. The next story is particularly tragic and sad. Allen Iverson, $200 million in career earnings. Allen Iverson, one of the NBA's greatest stars, was a shining light as the league transitioned from the Michael Jordan era. He was immensely popular, but unfortunately, he was also a victim of his own lavish lifestyle. Iverson spent large sums of money on cars and gave generously to his inner circle. In 2010, he was forced to declare bankruptcy after failing to repay a debt to a jeweler. Kenny Anderson. Kenny Anderson is a cautionary tale for athletes who do not manage their money wisely. Despite earning over $60 million during his NBA career, his net worth is now only around $800,000. Anderson was the second overall pick in the 1991 NBA draft and played for 8 teams during his career. He also played overseas and coached in the Continental Basketball Association. One reason for Anderson's financial downfall is his child support payments. He has 7 children with 5 different women. In addition, he was recently fired as a boys' high school basketball coach after being arrested for driving under the influence, DUI. He also recently participated in an off-Broadway production where he discussed his childhood sexual abuse. Anderson's story is another example of how the NBA is failing to help its players manage their finances. The league owes it to its players to provide them with the resources and support they need to succeed both on and off the court. Delonte West. Delonte West's descent into financial ruin is far more concerning than simply his promiscuity. Despite being a first-round pick and earning millions of dollars in the NBA while playing for 5 different teams, West spent half of his career battling undiagnosed mental illness and squandered his money faster than he could make it. He struggled with mania and depression and was eventually diagnosed as bipolar. In many ways, the NBA failed him. Mental illness is just as challenging to diagnose and misunderstand as any other disease. We are not in the 1940s anymore. Anxiety, depression, and mental illness are extremely prevalent and can be perplexing for the patient. The NBA needs to develop programs and acknowledge that many of its players require a safe and supportive environment in which to seek assistance. They ought to be pioneers for all professional leagues. Chris Washburn. Washburn was drafted 3rd overall in the 1986 NBA draft, but drugs ruined his career and life. He was banned from the NBA in 1989 after failing 3 drug tests. He lost his motivation to compete and turned to partying. His life spiraled out of control, and he ended up living in crack houses and abandoned buildings. He hit rock bottom when he was sentenced to prison for drug charges. He was so addicted that he couldn't even start for the prison basketball team, even though some of the players wore flip-flops and boots. Eventually, Washburn got help and has been sober for 14 years. He now lives with and takes care of his sick grandmother. Bill Willoughby. The story doesn't start here, but it's a good place to end. The 6-foot, 8-inch Willoughby was regarded as the best high school player in the world and, 1 year after Moses Malone and the same year as Darryl Dawkins, he decided to skip college and head straight for the NBA. Willoughby was incredibly athletic and drafted by the Atlanta Hawks. In a 1981 playoff game against the Lakers, he rejected a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar sky hook into the crowd, perhaps the greatest moment of his 8-year career. He retired in 1984, and by the age of 43 and broke, he earned his degree from Fairleigh Dickinson. But his renewed outlook on life hit a recent roadblock when at 58 in 2016, he ran and was involved in a fight with police. He was charged with possession of marijuana, resisting arrest, and aggravated assault. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Please do well to like this video and subscribe to this YouTube channel. We would also appreciate it if you could leave positive feedback and comments about what you loved about this video in the comment section. We always try to reply to all comments and will do so. Keep an eye out for our next video on another very exciting topic. We'll also be introducing an exciting docuseries that'll center on famous basketball players and their families. These series will answer pertinent questions on how famous NBA players are able to keep their families intact and happy despite playing in a competitive league.